Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to Akanakwat out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one doesn't necessarily have a title yet, but it's this video I saw today on popular Reddit from Black People Comedy, and it just shows you how quick our people are, unlearned our people are. We just did the lesson yesterday about Jake's simplicity. All right, most of our people are bugged out simpletons, and in that lesson we talked about really mostly pseudopigrapha or pseudopigrapha, with Jake just believing anything. Um, but ultimately, getting scriptures talking about my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. um, and that's the thing with Jake, is that they don't really do anything according to the knowledge. All right, it's all about their perception. Okay, and when you lean into your own, there's even scriptures that talk about that. We can go into lean not. Um, this is Proverbs 3:5. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." And and then we got to get verse 6 as well. It says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." So, um, and we got to get 7 actually. It says, "Be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord, and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones." So we at least had to go to 8 at least. All right, it's just too good of a scripture to not. But yeah, man, we're not supposed to lean into our understandings, and that's because our understandings are flawed. All right, if they're not through Yahweh Shem Yahshua, if they're not according to Scripture, if they're not, through the Spirit, they're flawed. Okay, we can, if we just, disregarded all this truth and we just started going off the way we thought or the way we think, all right, then we would know nothing. All right, we'd be like as to like how we were before we had this truth, not knowing anything, not knowing who we are, not knowing who they are, not knowing the truth about history, not knowing any of these things, right? So we can't just go off of our own understanding. And a lot of our people, again, most of our people are bugged out simpletons, and kind of it's not a continuing of that lesson, but I mean, in some ways it is. That today we're really talking about tares and people that, might be, that might look like us that aren't us. All right, you might have someone that looks Mexican that isn't really Mexican. All right, at the end of the day, all right, through the bloodline, the so-called Mexicans are actually Issacharites, right? And if this is the first you've heard of this, all right, this is we are the Hebrew Israelites, all right, and we are the true people, all right, of the Bible. Okay, not the 1948ers, which of course is the people that are calling themselves Jewish today. Those are just, of course, more Europeans. Um, but this is the 12 tribe sign. All right. And of course, to get the full understanding, you're not going to get it in just one day. You got to watch the lessons, start being present. All right. And of course, I'll do the quick shout out as I usually do. If you want some information, you can go right over here and should pop up. These are where you want to go. All right. So you can go to, this is Apostle Tahar. All right. He is the lead apostle, Great Millstone. Now, Great Millstone is the pretty much the only, all right, Israelite camp out there. The main big one that people know of. All right, there's smaller offshoots, but they're the big one that actually brings it out. All right, they actually will bring out the truth. Okay, 100% truth. All right, IUIC, they do not have the truth. GOCC, they do not have the truth. Zakari, they're pretty much disbanded. They do not have the truth. All right, and One Body, they do not have the truth. All right, GMS has the truth, the whole truth. All right, and they'll give it to you for free of charge, by the way. I'm not a part of GMS, but I, teach the same way. So you do have people like us, the affiliates and the people that teach in the same way. That they're not bug outs either. All right, they're just not necessarily in the camp, but they teach the same way. That's who they learn from, and they teach that way. So this is the head of GMS. All right, his name's Apostle Tahar. His channel is What is the 666 Mark II GMS Truth. Then there is the Apostle Gobar. All right, he's the second in command under Apostle Tahar. His name is of course, Apostle Gabar. His channel's name is Daily Edification 4. And then you have, where was it? GMS Infodoc. He's the third in command, I believe. And this is Apostle Ramalab and GMS Infodoc channel 12. So there's that. There's a lesson. There's a page called Apostles Live GMS 34th, and that's Apostle Gabar. And I always keep on forgetting
Wow,
this
nigga.
this brother's name. I can't remember.
It's
Let me
bad.
see if I can find it. Um, yeah, I can't remember his name, but another one of the beloved brothers. All right, that his name and title fails me, so Slovakia. Yahweh Shemiao Shai brought them to both those brothers. And then of course there's some elders here. All right, GMS South Carolina 08. This is the Elderman out to Zakba. All right, and then you have Remnant Save 144. This is the Elder Yashua Wombat of the GMS Dallas camp. And of course, GMS South Carolina 08 is from South Carolina. All right, so if you want to start, getting into this truth, this is the first you ever heard of it, that's where I'd recommend you go. All right, and start watching. But that's where you'll find out more information about the tribes and all the stuff about who we are and the curses and basically linking these people, these 12 tribes, all right, and these 12 people right here, the so-called people right here, to the biblical people. Okay, now you're going to have the southern kingdom, which makes up, they would be called black. All right, you have the Judites, all right, Judah, the so-called Negro, Benjamin, the so-called West Indians, Levi, the so-called Haitians. The northern kingdom is going to be your Latinos and Native Americans, right? So-called. All right, we say so-called because that's what they call us, but we're actually Israelites. Okay, so Simeon, the so-called Dominicans, Zebulon, the so-called Guatemalans, the Panamanians, Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Manasseh, the so-called Cubans, Gad, the so-called North American Indians, also called Native Americans, Reuben, the so-called Seminole Indians, Naphtali, the so-called Argentinians, Chileans, Asher, the so-called Colombians, Uruguayans, Brazilians, and whatnot, and of course Issachar, the so-called Mexicans. But just because you look like a so-called Negro don't mean you're always a Judite. All right, you could be a tear. All right, as we're going to be talking about today. So it's not about how you look. All right, you look black or you look Latino. All right, it doesn't necessarily matter how you look. All right, it's just the 99%. All right, of the so-called Negroes and the people that you see are Israelites. All right, and it's not always definitive. You can have someone that looks Cuban that is actually a Judite. All right, but so it's not, but this is, who we're called today, and this is who 99% of the time, for the most part, who we go back to. All right. You're going to have your underliers. All right. You might have your great, 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 great grandfather might have been an Ephraimite. All right. Puerto Rican. But, he really liked Judite women. All right. So you end up looking like a Judite, but you're really an Ephraimite. All right. That can happen. And it can happen the opposite way where speaking of transatlantic slave trade, that the Edomites, all right, the white so-called white people, all right, the Edomites, uh, they were popping, our women, all right, Judite women. So we know that the seed line goes to the fathers, all right, and again, that's a topic for another day. That you can't learn everything in in one go. All right, everybody likes different types of food, but you're not going to go to one place and order everything off the menu, right? You got to, you puke everywhere. You got to get it piece at piece, all right, different places. So, but yeah, if you had that happen, that kid, all right, that was a product of that Edomite, that white slave master, all right, having sexual relations with that Judite woman, all right. Of course, it was a Judite woman, but it doesn't matter because to the father, so that kid's an Edomite, but he looks black now, all right, and he being around that had sex with a black woman, and they had a black baby, and so on and so forth through the lines and lines and lines, and every Jake that they go around is like, yeah, something's really wrong with that guy. I don't know. He's weird, man. And but he's black, but he don't act like us. He's different. He's a little different. That's because he's not you, man. All right, you can't just see someone that's black and say, oh, that's us. All right, there's plenty of so-called black people I met that I was able to instantly write off as a tear. This guy is, something's wrong with him. Okay, something's wrong with him. They just don't act right. All right, they don't act how Jake acts. All right, one of the things you got to realize that Jake is the salt of the earth, and if they don't have salt, they're not moving right or they're just being weird like Candace Owens. There's different now. There's a difference between tares and coons. All right, now you have coons, people that'll just coon out for the white man, and they are really Jake. All right, they're just act like house slaves. All right, they act like they're better because the white man showed them a little bit of favor or something, so they throw their people under the bus. You have them as well, but you also have those that act like that because they're not you. All right, they go back to another nation. They're just in that chocolate body, right? So, and it's not just always with black folk. You have the same thing with the Mexicans, man. There's a lot of those Mexicans. A lot of those Mexicans, you act, oh, why they, of course we're gonna have the tribal animosity against, the tribes, Southern Kingdom and Northern Kingdom. But some of them are just, they really just don't like black people, black folk. They really just don't like Mexicans, and that's just because they're really just Edomite in that body. All right, you got to realize they were colonized by Spain, and Spain's are Europeans. All right, Edomites. Okay, so there you're gonna have a lot over there that are, the original Aztecs. All right, through that line. All right, that are really Iskar. All right, and then you're gonna have some of them over there that are just Edomites because of the Spanish. Right, so you can't just say, "Oh, he looks like a Mexican, must be a Mexican." No, does he act like one? Does he talk like one? Does he walk like one? No. Well, he doesn't like other Mexicans. He doesn't like black people either, and he voted for Trump, and he did this and that, and he's with a white woman and all this, and I'm like, okay, well, you gotta ask yourself now, okay, does he just hate who he is? Does he hate himself, or is he just an Edomite? Okay, and that's something you gotta wait for wait through this truth, all right, and you won't be able to do it unless you have this truth. But this is a video, Hyper Kids Africa sending messy B-Day love, and this is from Black People Comedy. And all these black people on here, and I'm saying black because black means void of light. We don't use black, all right? We'll say brown, all right? Various shades of brown. But black means void of light, and that's a term that the white man, Esau, all right? Not every white person's an Edomite, all right? Not every white-looking person's Edomite. Now, 99% of the time they are. 99% of the time, these so-called black people are, in fact, one of the southern kingdoms, all right? Except you have other black-looking people that aren't of the tribes. For example, Ham, Africa, and Africans, all right? You have West African, who, Ghana and all that, which for the most part, yes, are Israelites because Israel was over in that area, all right, and they got down, but not every single one of them is going to be an Israelite, all right? For the most part, West Africans are, in fact, Israelites, but other parts of Africa are not. They're Hamites, and you can tell because they act weird. They don't act like regular black folk that you see in America at all. And then you'll have people that, well, that's because they're in Africa and they're in the homeland, brother. We're in America. We're all messed up in our mind. We're all messed up in our mind. You're right, but these aren't your people. All right, they're different. They don't even look like you. All right, just because they got the same skin tone, you don't say you're Dominican American, right? Why? They got the same skin tone. Some of those Cubans are very dark. You don't say you're Cuban American. All right, you say you're African American. Why? All right, you're not from Africa. All right, you're an Israelite. All right, but of course the white man don't want you to know that because if you find out you're an Israelite, you find out they're an Edomite, and then boom, bam, the jig is up. So that's just how it goes. But I wanted to play this because I was watching this. I said, "There's no flavor to this at all." All right, the way they're acting, the way they're moving, there's no flavor at all. There's no salt in this. Uh, these people aren't Israelites. These are just Hamites. All right, but Jake's quick to give him a pass. Let me see. Especially with this part. This part was weird.
我的螳螂拳，你见识过螳螂拳只有一型。没有。
Everybody get up.
And that's that African style dancing, man. You see Jake. I've seen some African, dancers. I think they call them the Ghana boys. Let me see. Let me see. This might be the one. And it's like 50-50. This guy in the front don't have too much flow, but the girl on the right, she has a little bit more flow. All right, and these are Ghana boys, so who knows? Ghana boy, I don't know. So who knows? Some of them have a little bit more flow, some of them don't have flow. So some of these people might be Jake, some of these people might not be Jake. I think this woman on the right is definitely a Jake though. She got all the Jake woman mannerisms. But these two, the left and the right, they don't really have it as much. It's okay, but all of them still have more flow than this. This is just. A lot of the African dances, like a lot of those leg dances, it's all the leg dances, like, you know, flopping around. He or she had a little bit more flow in that one. None here. Yeah, that's the guy that originally it was like, I think this guy's a Hamite. No flow here. I think that's a Hamite as well. So I'm not saying everybody in that whole crowd was ham, but a good chunk of them. This guy or girl here, I'm speculating that they may not be. But again, you just got to learn how Jake moves, how Jake walk, talk, and act, and just be able to weigh it spiritually. You got to realize that it just ain't if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, all right, probably a duck, all right. So if it's not, then hey, it's probably not a duck. So you can just see, but people are, and you know, same with this guy. This is the guy that I also thought, you know, people think this guy's a J, African Tupac. This guy's a Hamite.
If you could, cause in the hood, true homies make you feel good. And half the times we be acting up, call the cops. Bringing a cease to the peace that was on my block. It never stops when my mama asks me, will I change? Tell her, yeah, but it's clear I'll always be the same. Until the end of if you could, cause in the hood, true homies make you feel good. And half the times we be acting up, call the cops. Bringing a cease to the peace that was on my block. It never stops when my mama asks.
Right here it says, that's just an African. This person says, we love you too. It's in your DNA. Don't be scared. It's in your. What do you think Tupac was? He and his mother knew who they were. And see, I'm glad I call all you Habash Meow Shah. I'm glad I came here because they'll say, no, we African. You ain't African, Jake. God damn, you ain't African, man. Just because they're the same skin tone as you, no, man. Tupac wasn't no fucking Hamite. All right, he was a faggot, is what he was, but he was Jake. All right, as far as I know. So, you know, and you could hear it in his music. He had it. I wasn't the biggest fan of Tupac, if I'm being honest with you, but you know, this guy.
New Hank, yeah. Y'all know how this shit go, you know. All eyes on me.
Well, look, he's got a little bit of swagger in his walk. No, the fuck he don't.
Roll up in the club and shit. All eyes on me.
And people were calling him, you know, because this video was circulating around the truth for a while, and people were calling him Hampock. So yeah, but you see the simplicity. This person, you know, says these kids are absolutely entertaining. I love to see this, and by this I mean us. I love me some us. There's nothing like us. You ain't even look, man. You don't even know, and that's how dumb Jake. You know, only leave it to Jake, and Jake's really only people that it really has happened to, where they've convinced you that you're a completely different people. All right, you know, the Mexicans, they go back to Iskar. All right, you know, the actual real Mexicans, they go back to Iskar. Africans go back to Ham. So you've been convinced, here it is, you're an Israelite. You've been convinced that you're a completely different nation, that you're African. And if you look at an African person, and some of these are West Africans, but if you look, and some are have more Hamitic features than others, like these, you know, if you go and look, let's just grab any, who do I want to grab? Grab Denzel Washington. We'll grab Cody Shane. We'll grab Tory Lanez. And I'll grab Steph Curry. Well, no, he's a little white, but not Steph Curry. What's his name? Fucking I'll go with Kevin Durant. All right, I'll even get Draymond Green. All right, he's darker. All right, we'll even grab Draymond Green. There we go. And then, so see him, see the eyes, see the nose, see the lips, see the eyes, see the nose, see the lips, see the eyes, see the nose, see the lips, see the eyes, see the nose, see the lips. You see, they don't have this fucking nose shit going on, where they have this. It's like a pug nose. It's really like So they have the wider base noses. All right, like Jake has the wider base nose, right? And all Jake has it. All right, not really Cody Shane too much, but Jake has the wider, noses. All right, the nostrils. All right, that's a well-known feature, right? But Africans, their nose, they might have a little bit of the wideness, but if you see a side profile, their nose, this guy doesn't really have it. But again, some people have more of the Hermetic features than not. Their noses like go in and up. Like if I had to draw it, like on the side, their noses go like this. Like I can't even draw it right. Let me see. Like their nose would be like, and then it would have like the little thing. It would go in like Jake noses go like this. All right, and they have that, and it has the regular bridge like this that goes up. All right, African noses go like and it's weird. You can see the smashed in like I'll try to find it. I'll try to find a side profile, but you can see it from the front. All right, but you can't, it's hard to see from the side. All right, and you can tell really in the nose, but it's the Hermetic features in the face. Here's some more. It's the same skin tone. All right, but if you made them any other color, all right, if you made this person, another thing is the eyes, man. Look, none of these people have yellow eyes. All right, Africans have yellow eyes, man. Their eyes, the whites of their eyes are yellow. Okay, the whites of their eyes are yellow. Their cheekbone structure is different. They have these like their faces are just different, man. And you, Jake, like we're African, but you won't say you're Dominican American. If you look up Dominican people, all right, you won't say you're Dominican American, right? But look, Dominicans almost look more like you, Jake, right? And they borderline from looking black to looking, like Native American to looking like Latino. All right. Now that person actually looks like a so-called regular American black person, so you'd make more sense. And guess what? The other thing is Dominicans are actually Israelites. Okay, going back. All right, Simeon. So it'd make more sense to call yourself Dominican American. We come from Dominica. All right, we got to get back to our roots. That would make more sense. See, look, but no, you say you're African American. When you go look up African people, you don't even look nothing like these people. Have nothing. You don't look anything in common with these motherfuckers, man. All right, some of them, but a lot of these are West African. All right, you go and look up like you don't look like these people. You don't look like these people. Slakia, got the booby all out. I'll probably have to blur that, but I don't know how YouTube is with that, as a matter of fact. I don't know. But, you see it. So, I'm not going to click on that one because she got her titty out too. But, yeah, man, you don't look like none of these people. And you can even see it in the babies' faces, man, that, some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them do, some of them don't. But you see, man, that they have completely different facial structures. Look at the heads, man. They got that egg head going on. All right, Jake don't have that egg head. All right, let's go back to this picture. We'll look at this one. You don't look like that. You don't look like that, man. You don't have that. So it goes back to just you don't look like this, Jake. So why are you calling yourself African American? All right, we are African American. No, you're not. No, you are not. Okay, you're Israelites that are dwelling in America. All right, and you've been lied to and told that you're African. Okay, because they don't want to they don't want you to know who you are. It's after Sabbath actually now, so I'm gonna start up a little bit of some music. So bear with me. I can't. That's the one thing about making lessons on Sabbath, man. It drives me mad not being able to have the music on because it's just so quiet, and the quietness drives me insane. So let me go and get hell, anything will do. Bear with me. There we go. Woo! Needed that. Paul, how about me? I'm shy. But yeah, man, you're not African people, man. You're Israelite. Okay, you're going in. The Moors. All right, the Moors are where the Israelites, and then they're Moors scattered abroad. That's who you are. All right, not no African. All right, not no African. Okay, and they'll probably say the Moors were African, but they're not. North Africa, yeah, see, North Africa. We were in Africa, doesn't make us African. Okay, I can be in Mexico, doesn't mean I'm Mexican. Okay, that's the thing that you Jakes don't realize. Okay, but our people are so quick to just be like, these are our people. Some of y'all might have to actually just be Africans. The choreography and production is top tier. No, it was not. No, it was not. Black joy. The world needs more of it. Amen. It shows you how simple our people are. It shows you really how simple our people are. These babies are adorable. It says, and they're posting black memes of people that don't look anything like these people. So I'm actually curious on what the, if I go to sort by controversial, that'd be funny if they said these aren't our people.
Messi with Kazan off his line.
Let's see. Not really, but yeah, man, Africans ain't our people. All right, Africans are Hamites. All right. All right, Hamites, name formerly used for some northern and Horn of Africa peoples. All right, now outdated model of dividing humanity into different races. Hamites, okay? Hamites, they're Hamitic, all right? You can even find that in history, all right? So it says Hamitic theory is an outdated theory that claims that the so-called Hamitic race is superior to the Negroid races on the African continent. So the Negroid, you know who the Negroids are? The Negroids are what they call our people, the so-called black people. That's the other thing. If you go and talk to an African over there, someone will be like, I am not black, you motherfucker. I am not you. They'll even say the hard R. All right, I am not one of you. All right, and you should take that and go, shit, I guess they're not us. But no, you'll just say, oh, I guess God, I don't know, man. They ain't in tune with who they are as a people. No, you ain't in tune with who you are as a people. They're living in dung huts and fucking eating mosquito burgers. They're in tune with who they are. Heathens, okay? And really, it's just a shorter lesson today, but I want to get a couple scriptures here. This is 1 Samuel 16:7. It says, but the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. You'll see, oh, they got black skin like us. First of all, they have dusty ass skin. All right, have you ever seen an African? Some of the African skins got really, it depends, because some of those people have more, again, Jake was over there, and they could have been getting with the women, so it doesn't mean that there is, some of them are Israelites over there, some of them are not Israelites. Again, you have to try them, it's really talking about prophets, but try them if they are of, this is, 1 John 4:3, it's really talking about false prophets, but it says, and every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua Mashiach is come in the flesh is not of Yahweh. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, whereof if you have heard that it should come, and even now already is in the world. That's not what we wanted. Where is it? I don't know why it gave us verse 3. It should have been verse 1. 1 John 4:1, beloved, Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of Yahweh, because many false prophets are gone out in the world. Again, it's talking about false prophets. But again, the highlight right here is try the spirits whether they are of the Most High. Try the spirits whether they are of the Most High. You do it with false prophets, and you can do it with anybody. Try it. See who they are. All right. Are they a God hater? Are they not a God hater? All right. Are they? Who are they? What are they? What do they think? Try them. All right. Through the Spirit. All right. And you'll be able to see. Really talk to them for a little bit. You'll be able to tell. All right. There's this African guy that comes in. He's super chill, and I really don't know. I think he might be a Jake. I have no idea. I haven't actually seen him in a while. But he's a pretty cool dude. Then there's another guy that's in there that I know he's a Hamite. All right, I know he's a Hamite. Just the way he acts. So again, I can't. If you're not in this truth and you don't know what to look for, then you're not gonna see it. Okay, you're not gonna be able to just have that ability. You have to be in this truth. And any other brother would agree. They'd be able to tell you that that person's fucking. They might just be for example, in today's I believe it was today's live stream with Elder Menata Zakba. Right here, streamed 3 hours ago. There was a Mexican guy that was fucking with him at one point when he was trying to stand out in front of this other place. And he said he could have been a Jake, could have been an Edomite. We don't know. All right. Of course, it was a very small interaction. Sometimes that could have been, just a interaction with him being a so-called black man, and the animosity between the Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. All right. A lot of so-called Mexicans don't like. A lot of so-called Mexicans don't like so-called black folk. A lot of so-called black folk don't like so-called Mexicans, and that doesn't mean that either of you was not an Israelite. There is just tribal rivalry. All right, it talks about Ephraim shall not vex Judah, Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Right? There's going to be a situation where that's not going to be in the kingdom. That's going to go away. So you have that, but you have to be able to discern between that. All right, and then someone that just doesn't like the truth. All right. And they don't want to hear it, like could have been the case with this guy, or someone that's just a terror, all right, or someone that's just a coon, all right. You gotta, and it can be hard when you start getting into there. Sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference between a coon and a terror, but sometimes it takes you a couple run-ins with this person, and you'll be like, okay, I think this person is just an Edomite, is what I think, all right. So that's you gotta wait through the Spirit, man. You just gotta, again. We look on the outside, all right? We try not to in this truth. We try to, weigh everything through the Spirit. But the average person, they just look on the outward appearance and say, oh, he's black, I'm black, we're the same people. That's not how it works, okay? That's not how it works. And then John 7:24, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment, all right? Which means judging according to appearance would not be righteous judgment. All right, that'd be a foolish way of thinking. Because you're not gonna get the truth, judging off of appearance, all right, basing things off of appearance. It's not gonna happen. Let's see how long we've been going. About 33 minutes. So I have enough time. I'll do the parable. We'll read about the parable. And then we'll close out. This is no, I don't want to fucking try the AI mode, man. Anyway. Here it is. Matthew 13:24. That says, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So again, to get this, we have to get another scripture. And bear with me, I'll be right. Alright, like your nose was bothering me again. Let me grab a drink. I'm at it here. But in order to understand this, we gotta make a quick bounce. All right. Over here to Numbers 1 and 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. So they declared their pedigree. And if you look up pedigree, all right, they declared their pedigree by the house of their fathers. All right, the house, all right, what is a house? If you look up house, meaning medieval, okay? House meaning archaic. Yeah, house. Go to Merriam-Webster. House, right here. A family including ancestors, descendants. All right, the House of Tudor. You see it in like stuff like Game of Thrones. You know, House Stark, House Targaryen. Right, that's their house. All right, their family. All right. If your last name was Johnson, you would be of House Johnson. I am Theodore of House Johnson. Right, that's how you would, greet yourself. Okay, and they'd be like, "Greetings, Theodore. My name is Elveram, House Cleobold." All right, so that's how you would do it. A family including ancestors, descendants, or kindred. House. Okay, that would be your house. Okay, so they declared their pedigrees after their house, their fathers, the family of their fathers, who they were. Okay, through their fathers, not their mothers, their fathers. And their pedigree is what? If you go down here, you're gonna see race. Okay, race. Okay, the record of a descent of an animal showing it be purebred, or the recorded ancestry, especially upper class ancestry. And in the case of Israel, it is upper class because we're royal. All right, royal, a royal priesthood. It says of a family or of a person or family. Okay, so they declare their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So there you go. So if you have, let me go and get paint. If you have, you have white dad, all right, and you have black mom, black mom, and then they have kids, you're gonna have a black looking child who's really white. Right? So that's what you're gonna get. Boom. You're gonna get a black looking child who's really white because they're really, alright, oops, so really Edomite. Okay, then you have a Judite. Judite. How do you spell it? How do you spell it? I feel like I'm spelling it wrong. No, spell it. Why am I? Not Judite. Not Judith. How do you write it? Let me see. Gonna bug me. Bear with me. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. Judahites or Judeans. So it'd be spelled like this, allegedly. Alright. Alright. So Judahite is essentially how it would be. And then you'd have. Lucky for that. I just wanted to make sure I spelt it right. Okay. So, hopefully you got that. You have a white dad, all right, who's an Edomite, a Judite mom, so-called black, and they have a kid. You're going to have a black-looking child who's really, quote-unquote, white, an Edomite, because you come through the seed line of your father. Okay? So, that's how it works. Okay? That's how it works. This is a little infogram. All right? You can see that there. Okay? That's how it works. Okay? So, going back. So, starting from verse 24, it says, "Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares?" Now, if you look at tare versus wheat, okay, they look very similar, okay? And to the untrained eye, you would not be able to differentiate between the two. All right, this one on the left is the wheat. All right, so you can see right here, wheat before it's fully ripe, and then tares. All right, very hard to tell to the untrained eye. Tares look identical to wheat. Okay, so you could have a situation like that where you had an Edomite, a white father, right, that got with a Judite, a black mother. And they had a child, and that child looks black. All right, they're gonna have 4C hair. They're gonna have the thicker noses. All right, plumper lips. All right, they're gonna be all intents and purposes a black person, right? But they're really an Edomite, and it really starts to show more when they get older. Okay, really starts to show more when they get older, because then they act weird. They might talk weird, or be into weird things, or just generally be off. Okay, so they look and sometimes talk similar, all right, to a regular Jake, but they're not. Okay, same thing with tares. To the untrained eye, yeah, they look like a regular black person, but they're not. Okay, they're a tare. You can be a spiritual tare as well, which means you don't act like Israel. All right, which a lot of our people are anyway, spiritual tares. So but they're not bloodline wise. All right, they are Israelites, the bloodline. They're just spiritually tared. But it says Matthew 13:27 again. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? You want us to just go and get rid of them? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Why? Because they look very, very, very similar to the untrained eye. There's some people out there, even I might have said in the past, I think that person's a tare. That's not. Again, that's why I say I think. All right, because at the end of the day, we can't look into their soul like the Lord can. All right, that person's more likely Edomite. You got to be an Edomite. Okay, but that's in special scenarios where it really comes out and the Lord reveals that person to us. All right, spiritually, and it's usually related to this truth. Sometimes it's not always revealed to you because you went to a gas station, the guy was a little weird. You go like, I think that guy might be an Edomite. That's not ever 100% revealed to you. We could be wrong. We're men. We make mistakes. Right? They could just be super bugged out, like coon 3000, right? The super coon, right? That's what they could be. But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn, showing you that the Lord want that wheat in his barn, the wheat being the Israelites. He doesn't want nothing to do with the tares. You want to know why? Because the tares are useless. Can't do anything with them. You can't do anything with tares. Okay? Can't make bread with them. Can't do nothing. They're a weed. All right? That just needs, and you really want to get rid of it so it doesn't infect your crop. And here it is. Now you got tares among the wheat. Now you have to deal with that whole situation. Nobody wants to deal with that. They're really a grievance. All right, you can't do anything with them. All right, only good. Maybe you could be warm if you have a whole bunch of them and you burn them. All right, that's about it. So yeah, man, that's it. That's the lesson. So again, I make these lessons from time to time, and brothers do as well. Look, man, just because they look like you don't mean they're you. All right, they got the same skin color. Don't mean that they're me. All right, it don't matter. All right, what about some of you red bones? Or you Jake that are really really light skinned? Are the white people you? Well, no. Well, then why? They're the same color. Some of them. All right, so why? No, there's Edomites out there that are darker than you. They got a tan. So are they you? No, they're not. So why are Africans you? Why are you not Dominican American? All right, why aren't you Cuban American? Why are you African American? Because you've been lied to. It's a lie by the Edomites, so-called white people. All right? They lied to you. They don't even act like you or talk like you or walk like you. Nothing good. They got nothing good that comes out of that. All right? None of the famous musicians, none of the favorite food, all that. Jake, you did everything, man. Jake did everything. Blues music, rock music, heavy metal music, movies. All right? The best movies, man. Food, all right? So much that the white man claims, our American food. Oh, you mean slavery food? Because that must be what you're talking about, because American food is not hamburgers, because hamburgers are from Hamburg, Germany. And they can't be French fries, because those are from France. And they can't be hot dogs, because those used to be called Frankenfurters, because they're from Frankfurt, Germany. So they can't be none of that. So you must be talking about ribs, right? And things like chicken wings. Right? And things like cornbread, which all came from Jake. Cornbread came from Native Americans, all right, Gadites. But the rest came from transatlantic slave trade with Jake that was fed scraps, all right, ribs. That was scraps, okay? Scraps, and you made it into something good, all right? Because that's what we do. Chicken wings, again, part that they'd usually throw out. And what'd you do? Make it into something good, because again, that's what we do, all right? So, what have the Africans done? Right? Build some bush shit out of some fucking elephant dung. That ain't you, Jake. And you're really dumbing yourself down by calling yourself an African. So anyway, but yeah, man, that's it. All right, you don't understand. Again, going back to really, this could be titled the same thing as yesterday's lesson. Most of our people are bugged out simpletons. All right, but it's not. I don't know what it's gonna call. Our people are. I don't know what it's gonna be titled. All right, I'll have to figure it out and post through Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. But that's a lesson. All right, we're going to close out there. Lord willing, was edifying. How long have we been going for? Let's see. It's been about 49. I'm happy with that. So we're going to close out there. Lord willing, was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak B'dash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Till next one, Lord willing. Shalom.